Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Healthwatch Northumberland AGM and review of the year 2021. It's a delight to have you all with us this morning. Just a few bits of housekeeping before we start. Your camera and microphone are set to off. The reason for this is to make sure that we can maintain the integrity of the meeting and so we don't get the wobbles with the internet, but let's cross our fingers and hope for the best on that one. But they will be off. But later in the proceedings, you will have an opportunity in the breakout rooms to actually have those on at some stage. Probably the best way to view the event today is to choose speaker view so that you can see the person who is speaking nice and large and up close on your screen. You can do that through the video feed, and where you see the participants, you can choose speaker view. When we come to the bit later on where you can all ask questions, that will be done through the chat function. Now, that can be accessed through your menu at the bottom, and you can just pop your questions in there and we will pick those up from there. Now, what I will say is that, hopefully we won't get through all the questions today, because hopefully you're all going to ask lots of questions. We won't get through them all today. But what we will do is make sure that we've got a record of them, and we will, as we did last year, undertake to get an answer to all your questions that you pose. So if you put it in chat and we don't get to it, don't worry, you will get an answer. And on the final point, talking about recording, we are actually recording this meeting today, and just to reassure you all that that is purely so that we've got a record, we can do the minutes and we can pick up on the questions. It's not going to be broadcast, and we won't be showing you to the world in any shape or form. But do please be aware that we are recording it. So, having got the housekeeping out the way, I will start proceedings by inviting Councillor Wendy Patterson to open the event and say a few words to welcome you all. Thank you, Councillor Patterson.
Many thanks, Derry, and good morning, everyone. I was absolutely delighted to be asked to open the Healthwatch Northumberland AGM and review of the year 2021, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all to the meeting. If I could just briefly, before I talk a little bit about Healthwatch, I just wanted you to know that in my portfolio, I have quite a lot of, I would say, very important things that I look after. And I just wanted to read them to you. And if any of you listening do have any issues, you can find my email address and contact details on the Northumberland County Council website. So under my portfolio, I look after food and fuel poverty, safeguarding, equality and diversity, adult social care, public health, domestic violence, communities together, mental health, the voluntary sector, and extra care and supported housing. Just wanted you all to know that, and I'm going to move on and speak about Healthwatch. Healthwatch Northumberland helps everyone to speak up about health and social care services in all parts of Northumberland. This includes every part of our communities, including people who sometimes struggle to be heard. Healthwatch is your health and social care champion. If you use GPs and hospitals, dentists, pharmacies, care homes, or other support services, they very much want to hear from you and hear about your experiences. As an independent statutory body, Healthwatch have the power to make sure NHS leaders and other decision makers listen to your feedback and improve standards of care. Sharing your experiences with Healthwatch is quick and easy, and it could make a huge difference. Thank you very much. Welcome again, and I'll hand you back to our very capable Derry. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. I should like to welcome you all, as Councillor Patterson has done, to this AGM, and echo her opening remarks in welcoming you to this particular session. And if I could add, we all genuinely appreciate Councillor Patterson's interest in everything which Healthwatch does, as it strives to be the independent voice of the wider community on all issues related to health and social care. And from that it's quite astonishing list of activities in the portfolio, Councillor Patterson, we do appreciate what you do in a more general nature across the county, in terms of the health, well-being, care, etc., for our community. So thanks for joining us this morning and for opening this particular event.
You're very welcome, David.
Okay, thank you. Before we progress to the reports and the presentations, I should like to lead us through the more formal aspect of the AGM, which is the consideration of the minutes from last year's meeting. And these were available on our website at the end of last year. And I believe they were sent out with the invitations to attend this morning's session. So if anyone does have any comments or queries or whatever about the minutes of last year's meeting, then you can raise them now via the chat. But if that's not particularly appropriate, then you could raise them with Healthwatch after the event, and we will seek to respond to them. So if anyone does have any questions, if you let us know by the means which Derry described, then that would be very, very helpful. I'm not sure if there have been any. Well, if not, just again to repeat, if anyone during the meeting or subsequent to the meeting, if you do have any queries on the minutes from last year, then get in touch with us and we shall respond to any such comment. Okay, so thanks for that. I can assume that everyone is comfortable with the minutes, what we said and so on. So we'd like to move on to the main part of the agenda. And before I hand over to Derry, just a quick word of thanks to the board, the volunteers, the staff. They all work very, very hard, individually and collectively during the year. And they contribute in their own way to what we have achieved, as Derry will be shortly describing. And there on the screen, you can see our board members for the current time. A very happy, cheerful, pleasant, hardworking bunch. We also have within the board, the volunteers, the staff, 3 new members who joined us in the last year, Tim and Helen. And they joined the staff. And then in the middle there, you can see Faria. She joined the board and she is the CEO of Being Women. So they've joined us, settled in very well, and we are pleased with what they are doing. And breaking news, you'll be the first to hear this. It was yesterday that Derry Nugent and we finally recommended 3 new members to the board. Jackie Davison, who's from Sea Houses, Gillian Robinson, who's from Morpeth, and Katie Seth, who is from Humsoft, which is near to Hexham. So we welcome you and we look forward to seeing you at the next board meeting in a month's time. But on the other side of the spectrum, we have also had some people leaving the organisation during the year. And there are half a dozen people from the volunteering side, from the staff side, and from the board side. And they've done a tremendous job during their time here in their own way. So we wish them well for their futures in appreciation for what they have done, which was considerable. So finally, having gone through all those aspects of the meeting, I can hand you over to Derry, Healthwatch Northumberland's coordinator, and she will undertake to present the review of the year. Over to you, Derry.
Thank you, David. That was very good, and it was lovely to see the new people and also sad to see the people that have left us. So the review of the year. We've had a year like no other, but that's not uncommon and it's what everyone else has done. So what I'm going to do with our presentation is just take you through some of the bits of work and some of the highlights of what we've done. What you see on the screen at the moment are some of the reports that we have produced from project work over the course of the year, up to and including our annual report, which you'll have all seen copies of. Now, all of those reports have recommendations, and I'll talk a little bit later about the importance of that for our work. I would also point out particularly the document in the bottom right-hand corner, which is our quarterly report. Now, that is where we bring together everything that we've heard from members of the public over the course of the 3 months, and we send that out and publish that every 3 months. That goes to service providers, so it goes to the hospital trust, to the CCG, to everyone and anyone who is interested in what is happening in health and social care. And I would recommend that you either get on the mailing list for it, or you pick it up from our website when you can. So what I suggest, if we then start looking at what is Healthwatch. If we could have the next slide, please. I thought it's always worth every year just reminding ourselves what Healthwatch is. And I think Councillor Patterson did that really well at the beginning, about reminding us that our role is really to be the independent champion for health of users of health and social care services. But what does that actually mean? What does that mean that we do? Well, I like to think that we do 3 main things because we have to do them. That is, the role of Healthwatch is set out in law. It is part of the statute of the Health and Social Care Act. But once you've waded all through that, what it comes down to is that what we are here to do is to gather, inform and report. They are our main statutory duties. So to gather feedback from users of health and social care services, to provide information to people about health and social care services, and to report that experience to the providers of those services. So they're our statutory duties, and they are something we hold very dear and keep very central to our work. Now, one of the things that we haven't been able to do this year is one of our other statutory duties, which is enter and view. And this is quite a unique thing really for an organisation such as ours, because the law gives us the ability, the power to actually work with service providers and bring the patient experience, to look and listen as to within those services, to actually go into those physical buildings and hear what people are saying. But of course we haven't been able to do that this year. But I just wanted to reassure everyone that enter and view will continue, and we will be looking to work with agencies over the coming year once we are able to get that going again. So basically, this all relies on a good flow of information, and the little diagram on the left of this screen just shows you how we get that flow of information going. So we talk about, one of the trendy words is reach, isn't it? About how we all reach out, who do we reach? And the way that we reach people is through our newsletter, our mail shots, and also through press and radio. Now, what we've done over the course of the pandemic, and I should say that what I'm talking about in all of this is over the course of the pandemic, so from April last year onwards, is that we've managed to reach through those ways 52,200 people. Now, what I would say is, of course, this is the only figure where we've got some little degree of we're not quite sure, because with the press and radio, we know how much airtime we've had, or we know how many column inches we've had in the press. But of course, we don't know how many people have actually picked those up and listened to it. But so we can only go on the figures that we can look at from those media outlets. But we know the mail shots, we know the numbers of things we've sent out, we know the people who receive our newsletters. Engagements, we do that face to face, and I'm so pleased that this summer we were able to get back out very quickly once restrictions lifted. And of course our online, we switched very quickly March last year to get a system of online forums and online contacts set up. And you'll see the results of some of that in a moment. We also get feedback coming into us, so people approach us, which is absolutely fantastic, and we thank people for their trust in doing that. And we do that a lot through surveys and the calls and the text and the emails that we receive. And one of the things that we're really keen is that people use both digital and non-digital methods of getting in touch with that. And I would say that I would add to calls, text and emails. I would also say you can write a letter to us as well, because I'm very keen on that. And then we have our information and signposting, which is a very important part of what we do, what we're here to do. As I said, it's a statutory duty. And over the last year, it's been even more important, where people have had to have reliable sources of information and ways into the information that other organisations, especially the NHS, have produced. And we know that from the calls, texts and emails that we've received, and also the amount of hits we've had on our website for the information pages, the sources of help and support, we know absolutely that 21,000 people have, 210,000 people have visited our site, or that we've had contacts on those number of times. Of course, it could be more than the same person doing it more than once, but we know we've had 210,000 contacts on our website and through our social media. And I think that's one of the figures that's really shocked us over this last year, and it's been very gratifying. Now, the next slide, please. So if that is our purpose, I think this slide is about what we do and how we do it, because it's important to note that we are a small organisation or a small project in a large county where we coexist in a very complex and difficult environment. So there's a lot of going on. And so to make that work and to make sure that we get that flow of information going, we need to make sure that we are agile and can work in different ways. As you've seen, one of the main ways we do that is that we communicate. And that is also about how we build relationships, and we work and build trusted and trusting relationships with, not just with the public, because that's the most important relationship, but also with service providers and commissioners, so that we know that when we have something to say, we have the routes of communication to ensure that it's heard and we can actually talk to the right people. But the other thing that we do is collaborate, and that is just so important. As I said, we're a small project with a big task in front of us. And so we collaborate with others to greater effect and to achieve more than we could alone. And I think we're all recognised over the course of the pandemic the importance of doing that. And I think one of the things that we're really pleased about, and the biggest thing that we did, and that we're very proud about, is the work we did with Northumberland County Blind Association, where we worked with Northumberland County Blind Association. I'm going to call it NCBA because that's the abbreviation that we've got used to. But we worked with them, not as Healthwatch, but we actually became their volunteers for that period. And in fact, we are still working with them to make phone calls to support their service users when the bits that they've been doing had disappeared, that their services had disappeared. And I think that was an absolute really key element, a key example of how we collaborate to greater effect. I think the last thing I would say is something which we sometimes overlook, but actually it's really another important way in which we work. And that's our ability to convene and to bring people together and to bring people into a space and to actually enable conversations. And I think if you look at some of the work and some of the reports this year, you will see that's what we've done. And actually, today is testament to that. The Recovery College, it's been around for a long time, the ideas of it, but it really started to come together when we worked together with CNTW and the Clinical Commissioning Group last August, not this August gone, the one before, but we convened a meeting with them to actually bring people into the room who could make it happen. And lo and behold, we are now here, and you're going to hear later from Tracy about how that's actually happening. So our ability to convene and to get people together into a space to discuss things, to have conversations, is really important. And the 100 people that are anticipated to be on this call today is actually, again, evidence of how that part of our work is so important and how it works. Can we move on to the next slide, please? So in terms of who we are, what we've done, this is the outcome. So these are some of the outcomes that we've achieved this year. And again, I think if you look at some of these pieces of work, they also emphasize those approaches to work that we talked about. I would particularly draw your attention to the one in the top left, which is the work we have done together with relatives of people in care homes. That was an important piece of work because all we know that at the beginning of the pandemic, the concerns for people who were both in care homes, but also their relatives, were huge and heartbreaking. And those were the messages we heard. And that's why we wanted to do something about it. And I am so pleased. And if you read our report, you will see testament to that, about the difference we make. And I am so pleased that that piece of work is carrying on. Because again, I think this is an important part about Healthwatch as well, is that the people that we directly interacted with and touched through our online forums were relatives. But actually, from the report and some of the recommendations that we're making, we are helping not only the relatives, but also the residents in those homes as well, because it's about relationships on both ends, isn't it? It's about bringing people together. So I think it's someone said to us last week that Healthwatch sometimes doesn't know the effect it has, because quite rightly, we don't always know when we've signposted someone to help, what happens afterwards. So, you know, for every relative we helped, there was a resident that we also helped with the care homes. But someone also said to us that we signposted 2 people to their service. And actually, and they obviously didn't go into the detail of what happened, but it was just a nice bit of feedback to have, that we actually helped 16 people, because that was the families surrounding those 2 people who we actually signposted. And that to me was a really, really important thing to hear. And I do thank the person who shared that with us. So if we look at some of those other pieces of work that we've done, I'll talk about the one in the bottom left-hand corner as well, which was the Your Voice work. And this was a small grant scheme that we operated last year, and I'm pleased to announce we're looking to do it at the back end of this year as well, where we recognise we are not the experts. We do not have all the answers, we do not have all the contacts, we do not have all the reach, even though those figures look lovely. What we are very keen to do is to work as a trusting and trusted partner with other organisations, so that collaboration bit again. So we offered small grants to what I would call specialist groups in the voluntary and community sector to actually engage with their client groups and tell us what their client groups feel about health and social care. And we got some fantastic feedback around that. And I would definitely recommend, if you've not seen it already, that you have a look on our website at the video created by some young creatives in the Headway Arts project. So it's young people with learning disabilities who use video and all sorts of really creative mediums to talk about issues they face. It's a really good piece of work. Okay, could I have the next slide, please? Of course, none of this would be possible without the support that we get. And that support is obviously, in the main, that is what we get from the support we get from Northumberland County Council. And we thank them again for their support. Now, Northumberland County Council have invested in our model. And hopefully from today, you all can see what it is they've invested in and the results that has produced. So we thank them for that. We obviously do some commissioned work as well, and I think that is going to be increasingly important, where we are asked to do work by other organisations. In this past year, we've done some work for NHS England with other health watches around all sorts of issues, from the Great North Care Record was, I think, the big one, but also finding out how people feel about clinical trials. So again, very strange, maybe side pieces, but really important in terms of getting the full view of what people want to talk about in health and social care. We're also very pleased that this model, which, as I say, has been supported, we're happy to have got some external affirmation of how it works. And we were pleased to receive support of small grants from Healthwatch England, who is our national network, in recognition of 2 pieces of work that we have done. And I'm pleased to say that next week at the Healthwatch England conference, we will be presenting to the network about pieces of work that we've done, which Healthwatch England have kindly said is actually a mark of good quality, and can we please, and good practice, and can we share it, please? So that's good news, and I'm very pleased to be doing that. Could I have the next slide, please? So that's what we did, but what are we going to do next? Because this is the important bit, isn't it? Where do we go from here? You'll have seen on the reports page at the slide at the beginning that one of the important things that we do every year is our annual survey. And that helps our board set the priorities for the coming year. And that is what, again, this year we were able to do it. That's why we got out across the county with our brilliant new gazebo. And I'm so pleased that we got a really good response rate to that. And, you know, over 700 people came and spoke to us in our gazebo. And I'm just so pleased about that, because it means that we can set some really good priorities reflecting what the people of Northumberland want to do. So we've got some ongoing work, but I'll tell you a little bit about that. Really important piece of work that will come out later on in this year, again, working collaboratively with the Clinical Commissioning Group and NHS England about, well, NHS and Northumbria, about end of life care. What do people in Northumberland want and feel is important for them for that end of life care? Do keep a lookout for that report. It's a great collaborative piece. I think it's going to be really intriguing and will set off a lot of discussions in about how we as a culture, as a community, set of communities, deal with end of life care. The 2 things that I would pick out, probably a couple of things more that I will pick out from here, is that COVID has highlighted that there are inequalities, how we as different people in communities and in different places, the health that we have and the well-being that we have. And one of the things that we will be doing this year is looking at how what COVID has shown, how that can be addressed. And we will be looking to work with others to actually address that and to learn more about that. So we've seen some of the things coming out with that not everyone has the same access to services or experiences services differently. So it's really important that we work with people, all of those specialist agencies out there in the voluntary and community sector, in the statutory services, to hear more about that. 2 other things that I think it's really important to hear about is that we know from our annual survey that one of the biggest issues is primary care. You know, we all know it's been on the news, it's been everywhere, we've experienced it ourselves. But I think what we are most concerned about is that there is a reasoned and reasonable debate and conversation about what primary care is and what it can offer and how it can support the people of Northumberland. And I was recently at the Overview and Scrutiny Committee and spoke about the need, I think, for a big conversation, because I think what we feel, the evidence we get back through Healthwatch, is that people really value the care, but they just find it difficult. But then we hear that, if you look in the Hexham Courant this week, there's also news that actually things may be changing. But do people feel that it's changing? Is that what they're experiencing? So what we can do practically about that, and where we're starting with that, is working with patient participation groups. I spoke last year about some of the work that we did around looking at what patient participation groups are doing. But I think this year we are moving on with that, and we are currently working with three primary care networks to look at how they can develop their primary care groups, because I think they're going to be the bedrock, they're going to be the foundation of this conversation, because after all, patient participation groups are there to be the voice of primary care. So really intrigued, really important, and intrigued to hear what's going to be said through that. And again, it's a piece of work that we're working with the clinical commissioning group on as well. So working in that trusted partnership that I keep mentioning. The last thing I'm going to talk about is the integrated care system, because this is the big change that's coming to the health and social care system, how it's all organised. We as Healthwatch will be taking the experience of people's care, of your care, into that integrated care system. The actual way that's going to work is still going through legislation, and we're still having conversations with the NHS about not just how Healthwatch Northumberland is going to be doing this, but our health watches across the region are going to be doing this within the North East and North Cumbria. And I'm really pleased that we've got colleagues from North Cumbria on the call today. Because I think it's going to be so important to have that independent voice in the integrated care system. And as I've always said, Healthwatch, our only concern is that we are here to listen, and that we will listen and we will take that voice and those concerns into the integrated care system. So keep a watch out for what we do about that. So I think that's all I want to say about that. So I think if there are, my next slide should take us to, are there any questions about what we do and how we do it? Thank you. Just seeing if there's any questions coming up. Just pop them in the chat and they'll come through to me eventually. Yes, the first question I've got is that David mentioned in his speech that a number of people left the organisation this year, and whether that was for any particular reason. I'm really happy to say that the reasons that people left the organisations were for really positive reasons. Our young volunteers left because they were going off to university, but with an enhanced CV. Very happy about that. And we have other volunteers who are going into work. But also, if you saw that Caroline had left us this year, she was our engagement officer. She now works for the CQC in the same role, and has been followed by Leslie, who you will know and remember from previous years, who now works with the CCG and NHS engagement team. So yes, people have left, but I feel that we have really, what Healthwatch Northumberland has done has really helped people move into something and move on, and we've helped enrich those organisations they've gone to. So the CCG and the CQC, you're most welcome. Any other questions coming through? Let's have a look. We've got a question about waiting lists for treatment. Yes, I think that's a really important question. Obviously, as a Healthwatch, physically there's nothing we can do, but what I would say is that we will continue to monitor the publicly available statistics around waiting times and how COVID recovery addresses those. And we will also, obviously, the most important thing, want feedback from the public about it. It's not something we're seeing come through at the moment in our feedback, but we will be monitoring it. And obviously, once we've got that, we will then be speaking, if necessary, and having conversations with the NHS. So yes, it is something that is obviously on our agenda. I'm just having a quick look at, sorry if I look away from the screen, I'm just having a quick look at what the questions are that are coming through. Where have we got? Yes, One of the questions that someone actually raised with us a little earlier before the meeting was about our here-to-hear sessions. Now, this is one of the ways that we're getting out into the community, and that we want to make sure that people, it's that flow of information again, people can actually get to us. And one of the things that someone said to us is, well, why have you chosen the 5 places that you're going now? Why haven't you come to Alnwick? And it's an absolutely fair question. And the answer is, we chose 5 places. We chose the 5 at the time where we thought we'd get a good spread across the county, and also where we feel that sometimes we don't hear enough from. But what we are doing is making sure that we're in the right places. So we're going to give ourselves 6 months in those places. We'll review it. Are we seeing people? Are people finding us? Are we in the right place to get people to come and find us? And if not, then we will look to change. What is the real trick to drop-in sessions is being in the right place for really good footfall. It's a retail issue at the end of the day. So if you are sitting there and thinking, oh, do you know what? A lot of people go through X, Y, and Z, because we're using the community hubs. That's one of the first places we are. But if you are sitting there as an organisation or an individual in your community and think, actually, you know what? Loads of people go there. I bet that would be a really good place for Healthwatch. So really happy to have that conversation with you at some stage. Just having a look at some of the other questions. Yes, someone said about patient participation groups. Their patient participation group stopped meeting due to COVID and has not restarted. And that given this is supposed to be a key part of feeding back, what can we do about this? I think that's a really good, a really important question. I think the first thing that we would always say to people, and we do have those conversations with other PPGs, is to start that conversation within your practice. Talk to the practice manager, find out what the plans are, what the ambitions are, how it's going to work. Now, individual practices are part of bigger primary care networks. Maybe that some of that conversation could helpfully go on across the network rather than individual practices. But what I would say is start with the practice, see what they're saying, and if at some stage you want to have a conversation with us, then we're happy to have that conversation, and you know how to get in contact with us. Anything else that's coming up? What else have we got? Yes, again, going back to that primary care issue, that question about people finding it difficult to use the e-consult system. I think that's that is part of the conversation that we need to have. And I think if you look at the report that we did called Click and Connect, or Click to Connect, I know it's got Click and Connect in it somewhere, that is part of what we're saying, is that all of these different ways of getting in contact with primary care are all good, but we just need to make sure that people know there's a choice, and that people can do the bit, if they find e-consult difficult, let's find out why. And I think that's part of the conversation that needs to go on and is going on. And again, I say we're working with the clinical commissioning group actively about engaging around GP access. It's a current piece of work that we're working on. And I know that members of the CCG are on the call today, so they might want to put something in the chat, but we will get an answer from the CCG for you to that question as well. Oh, I've already had an offer of a contact. That's lovely. Thank you, Laura from CNTW. This is what I love about meetings like this. Also, a question that someone has asked us, saying that in one of the slides I talked about working closely with other health watches, other local health watches around dental work and with the ICS. And does this mean that we'll have less of a focus on Northumberland? No, absolutely not. Our focus is and always will be and can only be Northumberland. But as I said, collaboration means always that you can do greater things. And obviously some of the neighbouring health watches share services. So, for example, Healthwatch North Tyneside shares Northumbria Healthcare. all of the health watches in Tyne and Wear and Northumberland share services from CNTW. So it makes sense that we work together. But our work will always be bringing the voice and the experiences of Northumberland into those services. So rest assured. I've put a question about our audiology report here. And yes, I think that's a really important issue there that someone's brought up about whether the impact of our reports has been lost because of COVID. And I think that's probably a really important issue for us to think about, is how do we measure the impact of our work and going back and revisiting our reports. And I think that's the thing that the Healthwatch board has tasked the staff team with most strongly, is to actually go make sure that the recommendations we make in reports are sensible and achievable, but actually to make sure that where they are then put into service providers, that we get some feedback as to actually what's happened to them. And because of COVID and everyone's focus has obviously been on that, and quite rightly, and we don't want to bother people when they're, you know, stretched to the limits. But I think this year, you're right, we do need to go back and pick up on those recommendations and find out what's happened as a result. And I think that's a really good reminder for us to do that. Question here. So here, most of the work you described seems to be centred around primary and social care. What work is being carried out with Northumbria Trust? I have to say quite a lot of it. We work quite a bit with Northumbria, and the major piece of work that we're working with them around at the moment is the end of life care. So that's one piece of work. And what I think you'll find is, if you look at our quarterly report, you'll see that their routine reporting and feedback, we highlight what services people have come to us about, and you will see that Northumbria is figured in there, and that because of the relationship we have with them, and there is, you know, we have a very open relationship and very trusting relationship with Northumbria. We both know that we can both pick up the phone to each other if there is a problem and sort it out. And I have to say, there have been examples of that over the year that's been reported. Also, I think that if you remember, the last really big piece of work we did is when we did some work with at Cramlington at NSEC a few years ago. But again, that's not something we can go back and do at the moment. So yeah, so Northumbria is definitely one of our key relationships. Right, anything else on the questions? I'm aware that we've got lots of other things to get through today, but there's some great questions. Oh, thank you, Alan. The chair of Northumbria has been very, very kind. It's good to know. As I said, I think you and your engagement team and us, we you know, I feel that we have the relationship we need to have to get things done. Yep. Right. I think I will probably end there on questions. We will end all the questions. What I would say is, just picking up on the final points of, we're talking about PPGs, because there's been quite a bit of chat about that, is that if you want some advice about your PPG or some support, do come to us, talk to us, but also talk to the CCG, because again, we're working together, and CCG are really really keen to pull together what's happening across the county. So either get in touch with the clinical commissioning group, and you can go on their website, you can find a link in there. It'll be through Leslie Tweddle, you can, you know, Leslie would love to hear from you about your PPG, or through Healthwatch, and that's fine. So I will bring that to a close, but just saying thank you to everybody, to everyone who supported us, to everyone who continues to share their information with us, because without you, it wouldn't happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Derry, for presenting that very fulsome annual review. It was an interesting year, but one not without its challenges, but one where, as Derry has so admirably described, where Healthwatch supported individuals, their queries and requests for help, passed on invaluable information about the pandemic, etc., as well as holding focus groups and conveying information, reports, etc., to the providers, the commissioners and the politicians. And I think we were all very, very pleasantly surprised at Healthwatch, the number of hits, or whatever you call them, which we received during the year, which is, it's wonderful to know that people are contacting us and that we can respond to them. So well done to Derry for that report and for everything which goes behind it. And within all of that work, mental health was quite prominent, not unexpectedly. So it is entirely appropriate that the focus of today's main presentation is on mental health. And without further ado, I'd like to welcome and introduce Tracy Bruce. She is the lead officer for Mental Health Concerns, which is a charity commissioned by the Clinical Commissioning Group for work with the Recovery College. So welcome, Tracy. Thanks for participating in this AGM. And we all look forward with avid interest in what you're going to tell us about this very, very important work you and your colleagues undertake with the Recovery College. Over to you, Tracy.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for having us along to the Healthwatch AGM. My name is Tracy Bruce. I'm the lead officer for Mental Health Concern, and I've got to say I'm just so excited to be part of this work that we've been developing with Northumberland Recovery College. So if you've not heard of Mental Health Concern before, we are a charity based in the northeast of England. We provide a wide range of specialist mental health services. And also, as I've mentioned, we are the leads for the Recovery College. So I'm going to take this opportunity to share some of the wonderful work that we've been doing across Northumberland. I've also got to say I'm a really proud Northumbrian myself, born and bred, so nice to be part of work across the county. And also just to say, I think for us, there's never been a more important time to be supporting the wellbeing needs of Northumberland. That's part of the reason we're very proud to be working in the Recovery College. And for those of you who haven't heard of a Recovery College before, it's a place where people can come together to access activities, to spend time with people, build mutual support for one another, and to have great learning experiences, particularly if you're going through a time where life might be feeling a little tough in terms of your emotional and mental health. So recovery colleges have been around nationally in existence for quite some time now, and we know there's lots of positive benefits that can come from being part of one. We know that being part of a group can be a really powerful experience, and it helps people to have those positive new learning emotional experiences. It helps to build trust with new contacts, and with that comes a shared sense of purpose and a feeling of achievement. Okay, so just a little bit to set the scene. As we know, Northumberland is quite unique, and so when we were developing the college, we wanted to remain true to that. It's really, really important that we do, and that we adapt so we have a county-wide provision. So with a population size that I believe is over 330,000, it's important that we pay particular attention to including both rural and urban areas. As we know, it is such a vast county, beautiful, beautiful county. And hopefully one of the things that you might notice as I'm going through this presentation is some photographs that are taken from Northumberland. These were taken when I've been out and about walking myself. So it's really important to us that we understand the needs of our community in terms of well-being. And that's why we've very heavily invested in our relationships first. And so for us, it's very much about building that long-term trust and rapport, so that the people of Northumberland, yourselves, colleagues, individuals, know that we are really here to listen and to shape the services based on the ideas and skills that you put forward yourselves. As you'll see down the side of my presentation, I've mentioned there's really 4 keystones, I think, of building any recovery college. Co-production for us has been the cornerstone of that. So co-production for us means that we work right from the very beginning with people to help shape the services, not in the middle, not at the end, all the way through. So co-production, education, inclusion, and keeping it recovery focused are those key principles. And for us, NRC, so Northumberland Recovery College, is all about education, but I've got to say it's in a really fluid sense for us. So it's about learning what we need to lift our mood. It's about adapting those strategies because we all have different learning styles. It's about learning through education about what might help us when we're feeling anxious, connecting us when we feel lonely, giving us strategies for dealing with life when it becomes quite tough. And that's why we keep it very, very fluid. So for some people who access the Recovery College, they might enjoy some of our more formal emotional resilience-based courses, and we have some taster sessions today. So hopefully you'll enjoy some of those. It might be that people would prefer to come along to a stress awareness session, and that's great as well. And then others like it to be a little bit more interactive, and you might find that they enjoy, for instance, our boxing clubs or sea dipping sessions, which have happened up in the north of Northumberland. So again, the Recovery College is recovery focused, and I guess it has that shared understanding that mental health can affect any of us at any point in our lives. So it's not just about diagnosis, it's about recognition that unfortunately no one goes through life without a scratch, and at any point in our lives we might experience challenges. Those challenges might be bereavement, life changes, financial pressures, or relationships, and it's having a place where we can hold the space where people can work through those challenges together to improve their well-being. And I think by attending a recovery college, it gives the opportunity to improve quality of life, build connections, develop friendships, and it's a place where I think everyone feels they can truly belong. So we have a really strong sense of purpose at Northumberland Recovery College. Our purpose is to find and create that special place where people can come together, find those friendships and connect in their communities. And it's about keeping the focus as being about mental well-being and creating that space where everyone feels really comfortable. Really proud that we are leading this work at Mental Health Concern. And for me, it's very much about keeping the voice of the community at the heart of everything that we do. We are very fortunate that we have been commissioned by NHS Northumberland Clinical Commissioning Group, and Healthwatch were involved in that commissioning process too, as Derry mentioned. I've got to say, we don't do this alone. We do this through lots of fantastic collaborative partnerships throughout Northumberland community. So working with other voluntary sector providers, small community groups, charities, lots and lots of really rich, experienced organisations that help us to provide the work through the college. And so you might be picking up on the term recovery throughout the theme of this presentation. And for me, it's a question we often get asked, why a recovery college? And for me, the word recovery means that sometimes we need to take a bit of time to take care of ourselves. And sometimes you might need a bit of support to do that. This, for us, is very clearly linked to our values as an organisation and mental health concern, and also our organisation's purpose, which is we are here so that no one struggles alone. So I feel, and I hope you do too, that the Recovery College is pretty special because we wanted to reach out across Northumberland. So instead of choosing one building that only a few could access, we have interlinked with lots and lots of different places across Northumberland. So we have that whole range of organisations, making sure that residents get the best possible opportunities to attend some of our sessions and courses. So you can find us in the north of Northumberland, you can find us in the west, in the southeast, in central Northumberland. It's really that non-judgmental place where you can come along to and just be yourself without any worries. And if you have worries, then I've got to say we're here for you too. So for us, again, it's about celebrating our community in Northumberland. We definitely have that strong sense of pride. We have a rich history throughout the county, mining communities, shipping industries. I've got to say myself, I am very proud to be a miner's daughter. That's part of my heritage. And it's about drawing on that diverse community that we have, that rich local heritage. And also at the same time, understanding that local needs will differ. So what is requested up in Berwick, Wooler, Sea Houses might differ to what is asked for in Hexham, in Ovington, in Haltwhistle, or in South East Northumberland and Blythe. It's about respecting that local needs will differ, and sometimes we need to do it differently to address the needs in our community. That's why it's absolutely crucial that we listen to our community, we learn from them, and we continuously develop the work as we go through. So we are definitely about thinking big. We are really passionate about the well-being of our community, and it's most definitely not just about managing well-being. We have a much higher aspiration. It's about creating flourishing environments and activities where individuals can live meaningful, happy and purposeful lives. It's about thriving, not just surviving. And so I hope what's really coming through is that sense of, we're building that sense of belonging. This is your community, it's our community. We want to be part of it. And I think communities have always done a fantastic job of looking after each other. That's what we'll always continue to do. So we've set that aspiration really high because that's what Northumberland deserves. An understanding of how we draw on that rich heritage to deliver lots of activities in improving mental health and well-being, delivering drop-ins and courses that bring people together, and having that understanding that what people need, we all need the same things, which essentially are friendships, laughter, connections, to feel safe and supported, to feel valued and appreciated. So people reach out to us in a number of different ways. You can find lots of information about what we deliver on our website. So you can find our website at www.northumberlandrecoverycollege.co.uk. You can also contact us by email, and the email address for that is nrc@mentalhealthconcern.org. We've also recently started to have a social media presence, so you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. And also, and again, very importantly, you can find us in the local community. Our teams invest a lot of time in going out and speaking to community groups. So if you'd like to have a conversation with us about what you would like to see in your local community, we would absolutely love to hear from you. As you can see on the slide, our website hits per month have grown over a very short period of time. So really proud to say that we'd gone from, in July, having just over 600 hits on that website, now seeing over 3,000, which is great because that means people are finding out more about what we do. If you're a professional, we can also talk to you about creating referral routes for patients, clients and service users. And an example of where we've done this recently, and it's worked really well, is working with Northumberland communities together who have locality coordinators, social prescribers and many other professionals who are now referring in to us. So again, if this is something that you are interested in, we would absolutely love to hear from you. Happy to come along and give a presentation also if that's useful. And we know that people who engage with NRC, Northumberland Recovery College, report that improvement in well-being, a decrease in anxiety, increase in social connections, as well as improving some life skills as well, so building that self-confidence, self-belief, motivation and positive thinking. So there's lots of great benefits from getting involved in the college. Okay, so that's a bit of setting the scene. So you might be wondering, what does that look like in your local community? So something, again, I'd really like to emphasise, so Northumberland Recovery College is a place where everyone belongs, so it is open to everyone, so all adults living or working in Northumberland. This is our community and we all want and deserve to feel good about ourselves, and that's part of what we do, is working with people to achieve some of that. So people come along to the college for lots of different reasons. Sometimes it might be that they've been feeling quite stressed or a little lonely or anxious. Some might have come along because they are experiencing a change in their mental health, and others come along because they want to be part of their community. And that's one of the lovely things about Northumberland Recovery College, is it's for everyone. So if you are Sarah, a 23-year-old mum who loves to walk, then we are for you. If you are Chris, a person who loves photography and would like to get involved, then we're here for you. If you are a woman wanting to learn about the menopause, or someone who is handy and likes to fix things with tools, then we're here for you too, because we are here for everyone. So you'll see some examples in the slide of activities that we put on throughout Northumberland. So walking groups, resilience courses, gardening activities, and lots of work that centres around appreciating Northumberland. Okay, so we don't just walk the walk, we walk and we talk. This is taken from an NRC participant, so one of our students who's been involved in many of our activities, and walking is just a really good example of one of those activities that we have. And you'll see the person in the photograph is actually myself on a little walk through Northumberland. And this participant, I think, it's a great quote, which just emphasises that this person has been linked in through their social prescriber, talks about how the strategies they've learned has supported their well-being and their resilience. And what is absolutely fantastic to read in this quote is how amazing it's been for that person's well-being, and that they now feel better equipped to handle their bad days, and they're really looking forward to learning more. So essentially what we are about is we are people looking out for people. We're people taking care of people, just as communities have always done. Okay, so I just wanted to share a couple of photographs because I think it really brings the work to life. And these are photographs that are taken from some of our activities that we've put on around the county. So in the top left, you will see a couple of gentlemen from the Box and Well sessions. And Box and Well is non-contact, helps to build confidence, boost self-esteem, really great workout as well. And people developing lots of new friendships through that group there. We also deliver relaxation sessions, mindfulness, resilience, as I've mentioned. And in the centre, you will see Chrissy from Mind and Soul, based up in the north, absolutely superb organisation, who is a big fan of sea dipping. Very invigorating. Might be a little chilly doing it today, but absolutely fantastic work. Okay, so what is coming next? So what is coming in the future? And we are always developing lots and lots of courses. For us, as you will have gathered, it's about always listening to the voice of the community. We listen, we hear, and we co-produce. And it is absolutely fundamental to us that we never forget that the heart of the Recovery College is the heart of our Northumberland residents. And here are some examples of some of the upcoming courses and activities that our residents have asked for us to create and co-design with them. So in the very near future, there will be some autism peer support groups that are coming out. We were asked if we could set up some walk and football sessions, which is very competitive, I hear. So I definitely will be taking a look at that myself. In South East Northumberland, one of the communities there said, what we really would love to have is a community choir where we can all come together, sing, chat, discuss the great things about our community. So that's something that's coming up. In Alnwick, there will be a wellbeing book club that is just about to start in November. Drummond, next year we are also supporting a wellbeing festival, which will be just absolutely fantastic to be part of, and a series of work that will take place with veterans and the armed forces. Okay, so you might be asking, does it make a difference, and how do we know? So we know that people really benefit from access and support that helps them to feel well and to feel happy. We measure well-being, we note impact and change, and the work that we do complements, not replaces, it complements a clinical offer by enabling us to support patients, clients and service users, sometimes over a longer period of time. Also, very importantly, we learn from experience, and so we thought it would be really important to share some of that experience with you today. So we do have a video, and the video has been filmed with Libby, one of our NRC participants, and Beth Marston, who is one of our team, is talking to Libby, who shares her experience of being part of the Northumberland Recovery College. And so now we are just about to show this, and then I will take you through a couple of more slides to bring the presentation to a close.
Hello, I'm Beth. I'm the engagement worker over at Northumberland Recovery College, and I'm very excited today to have Libby with me, who's one of our students, and we're just going to have a little chat about the college and what it means to her. So if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, Libby.
Hi, I'm Libby. I've been a student of the college since it started, or it was being developed. I think I was one of the first students because I turned up to some of the taster sessions. I've got borderline personality disorder. I've also got anxiety and very bad panic and OCD. I have a community health nurse, and I do access talking therapies. So because I'm on my recovery journey out of secondary services, they actually referred me to Eddie, who is the facilitator of the Northumberland Recovery College. I got in touch with him and he said, yeah, you're more than welcome to join. And I haven't looked back since. I've been a regular student of the college. The fact that the college, it's not just about mental health, they do recreational courses as well, such as, like they've just brought out mindful photography, and I really enjoy that. They also do physical courses for your physical health, which obviously has an impact on your mental health, like yoga and boxing, and they just give you such a wide variety of courses, and every prospectus is new and fresh, and like it's always something for everyone, you know, and there's always something I want to do on there. And I've just really enjoyed meeting the practitioners as well, because a majority of them have had mental health problems in the past and have overcome them, and are now helping people, and they're a real inspiration, you know, especially like the peer supporters. And I really enjoyed the social aspect of the college as well. I'm quite a hermit and quite isolated due to my anxiety, and I wouldn't have gone out to receive therapy or like a course or anything like this. So the fact that the college has done it all online and made it accessible to people that can't go out, you know, of the house, but also like building their confidence and then slowly bringing in courses in person as well, which I'm starting to actually consider going to. And I do feel like that's down to the college and like building my confidence. It's a safe place. I feel like reassured when I'm on these courses that I'm not the only one that feels the way I feel. I wouldn't have had this like opportunity anywhere else, because to actually go to a college or like a course for wellbeing, you'd originally have to actually leave the house and go to it. I would never have done that in a million years. I actually started co-facilitating the wellbeing course with Jolene. The college, it gave me like routine and things to do that day, and then obviously the knowledge and stuff you'd learn from the courses, you take it away with you. And I'm actually started working with the involvement team now, and I don't think I would have been able to have done that if I hadn't have been a student at the college. I genuinely do think the college have given me the confidence in myself, and I'm forever grateful for it, really. After being at the college and seeing what it's done for me in my life, I would definitely consider a role as a peer support worker in the future, because if it's helped me and I was a nervous wreck, then I want to help other people. Just the courses that they offer would help people so much, and not just with mental health. As I said it before, with physical health, it would help people with social isolation due to mental health issues, or the elderly. You know, there's so many different areas where it could cover, and I do think there's a massive need for it in Northumberland, and it can only do good, you know. I can't really say anything bad about it.
Oh, well, that's great, Libby. Thank you so much for talking to us today.
So hopefully you enjoyed watching that presentation, that video. And so just to move on from that, I'm just bringing the presentation to a close, and it was just also to say that we know that this work works for us. We know because it's evidence-based, and it improves quality of life, it increases coping skills, it increases independence and autonomy, and also in terms of cost of time, sometimes it can be quite costly to a person's time who, when they're going to access GP appointments or looking for a service that will help, when really what they're hoping to reach out for is somewhere to connect, somewhere to feel they belong, to feel part of it, somewhere that'll help them to feel less anxious and less isolated. And that's where we can really help with that. So it's about getting people to the right place at the right time. And so just to finish on this presentation, I just wanted to share a 14th century Old English proverb: from small acorns mighty oaks grow. And for us, this is only the beginning in Northumberland. We are delighted to be leading this work. We are so excited to see what will be coming up in the future. And I say really excited because we'll know when people in Northumberland are telling us what they need. So working in partnership all the way through. So thanks so much for listening. Please do get in touch. And again, if you would like to get in touch with us, the email address is nrc@mentalhealthconcern.org, and website address is www.northumberlandrecoverycollege.co.uk. Thanks again, and we are very much looking forward to hearing from you.
Well, thanks very much, Tracy, for such an illuminating presentation. and one which I think has highlighted the very real need for such an invaluable service in supporting those people in society in need of help, to enable them to continue to move forward with their lives. You know, a wonderful presentation, and it gives people a lot of heart, really, to know what is going on to support those in need. It's also interesting that the word laughter appeared in your presentation. It's an important word, especially in these challenging times. So it was good to see that. And also, I think the phrase which has stuck with me, which resonates with me, is people looking out for people. And I think that just sums up what you do. And also the analogy of the oak tree. Well, you were no longer just a little seed in the ground, a little acorn in the ground. I think you're an emerging tree with huge potential, with branches spreading everywhere. And we really do look forward to watching your progress and helping people get back on track. Anyway, we shall now have a 5-minute break. And if during that time you want to ask Tracy any questions, then send them in via the chat line and so on. And when we come back in 5 minutes, Derry will sort of chair that particular part of the day. And we'll have Tracy and I think Kate O'Brien, perhaps from the Clinical Commissioning Group, joining us to take the questions. So if we fire them in, then we'll have a little break for 5 minutes and we'll see you at about 25 past. Thank you.
Hello and welcome back to the question session. So now we are going to hear from Kate O'Brien, who's joined us. Hi, Kate. And also from Tracy, if they've got any questions on her presentation. Before we start, can I just say, I am so pleased to see the chat, because already that thing we were saying about collaboration, convening, all of those things is happening. I've seen so many offers coming in from people, you know, for help from Choppington Parish Council, all over the place. Fantastic stuff. So I'm really pleased. And can I just say thank you to Libby as well? Fantastic, that video, really good. Really pleased to hear from her. Okay, so it's lovely to have you here, Tracy and Kate. We've had a few questions in from the audience. Maybe if we start, we've had a question from Karen Bauer, who says, could you provide a little more detail about your co-production process? So really straight into the nitty-gritty there, Tracy. Probably one for you.
I think that's a great question and a really important one for us. In terms of co-production, I guess it's about keeping it quite fluid sometimes, because that's what's needed in certain communities. So we will go along and speak to groups of residents to find out what they would like to see in their community. That's how we started off with a cuppa, a conversation and a chat. Find out what's really important, a little bit about the area. Anything that's, I guess, been an issue in terms of wellbeing, and look at what activities that group might want to put forward, you know, in terms of sessions, drop-ins. We also, very importantly, we have members of the community on our development group. So we have development groups in different parts of the county, and they really help to provide a good steer, I guess, in terms of what residents want, what local organisations might think would be a good offer, and then we work together to bring that to life. And just throughout that, what's really important for us is that we keep checking in and making sure the way we're delivering it is right. So if the group comes back and says, actually, this feels a bit too formal, can we make it a bit more creative, then we'll adapt as we go on and evaluate throughout that whole process.
That's great. Hopefully, Karen, that sort of gives you some idea about what the process is, but it seems like there are opportunities for people to get involved all the way through.
And I think this would be, I guess, a shameless plug on my behalf, Derry, that if there are people in the local community, whether that's residents or professionals who would like to get involved in our development groups, we're really keen that it is steered by the community. You've probably gathered that from my presentation. There's so much knowledge and experience. So if you'd like to be part of the development groups that help us to shape the college, then please do get in touch by the email address.
That's not a shameless plug. That's what Healthwatch is here for, to make sure those things happen. So, you know, let's do the shameless plugs. Kate, I wonder if I could come to you with a slightly different angle. What was the clinical commissioning group's thoughts and ideas about having, you know, bringing a recovery college to Northumberland? What was it? Why did you want to do it, apart from people wanting it? But what was your view about it? Where did it come from?
Thanks, Derry. Can I just check that you can hear me?
Yep, I think we can.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
Had a few glitches this morning. So that's a really great question. As you're aware, about 18 months ago, the Clinical Commissioning Group, along with our Mental Health and Disabilities Trust, AEW, and your good self from Healthwatch, started to think about what would make the biggest difference in Northumberland. What had people asked for? What had people said that they felt was missing from our commissioning portfolio of mental health and disability services? What did people think would have made the biggest difference to them in their journey to recovery? And we were really lucky that the Mental Health and Disabilities Trust, AEW, gave us some money to consider how we could think about recovery colleges in Northumberland, and that was from their charitable funds, and we're so grateful for that. And we were so grateful for your support at the time in bringing people together and enabling us to have those discussions with people with a lived experience of mental health difficulties, with people who wanted to support, with organisations that they felt could come together to form a recovery college and make a difference. So we listened to what people wanted for Northumberland. We thought about the diversity of Northumberland, its large rural areas, its urban towns, and we were very lucky to have Mental Health Concern express an interest in delivering our recovery college. And then with Healthwatch support, we really shaped up what our expectations would be, what our ambition was for people in Northumberland, and how we felt that we could support Mental Health Concern to deliver that. We knew from other areas and from the experiences that the Trust shared with us that recovery colleges can make a real big difference to people, and that they can help them to live the best lives possible in the community. And that's the ambition that we wanted for Northumberland.
That's really great. And I think what that says to me is that listening, that ability to react and bringing, as you said, the different players together to do that. Again, there's still more offers coming in of help. I think it's going to be massive. Maybe I think something else that I think when people have been talking about a recovery college in the past is that how does it differ from what we think of as mental health services? If people are a bit nervous about coming to the recovery college because they're not quite sure who they're going to be talking to or where is it going to go, what would either of you say about that? Tracy, I'll come to you, maybe Kate, if there's anything you'd want to add afterwards. Tracy, why should we not be nervous to come to the recovery college?
I think one of the strengths, I think, is firstly, we're very approachable. We keep it really open, really friendly. We are very fortunate to have peer supporters. So peer supporters are often people who have had that lived experience themselves, who know how difficult it can be to get through the door, I guess. So a couple of our peer supporters have an excellent skill in just meeting people and saying, I know it can be a bit tricky, it can sometimes be a bit nerve-wracking. Would you like us to just meet you outside? We can be the person that walks in with you. And I guess just getting a sense of what the place looks like, who will be there, and making it as approachable as possible. Very, very friendly. We try to keep things very relaxed, informal, and just adapting based on the feedback that we get. And just to pick up on the point around mental health, and hopefully this is one of the things that I'd emphasised in my presentation. This is a recognition that, we all have difficult times in our lives, through a variety of different reasons. And it's about us coming together as a community and supporting each other.
Good points. Yes, I agree. Kate, is there anything you'd want to add to that, or from the Commissioner's perspective?
You've heard Tracy talk during her presentation about people who access the college being course students, people. This isn't a medical model. This is not a service where people will be assessed and treated, prescribed medication. It's a service where we build on community assets, neighbourhood assets. I can see in the chat box all the people from the communities coming forward to say what they can offer. This is something that's close to home, it's accessible, it's opportunities to meet people that have got similar experiences and try activities out for the first time. So it's a very different type of service. And it's a service that we expect to grow and develop over Northumberland and become something that people want and shape rather than a commissioned health service.
I think that's a bit, and I think just listening to the presentation today and from your answers there, I think what I'm getting is that it's very much one of the tools in your box, really. It's that range of services, and people find themselves in different circumstances. This actually seems to have added another tool for you, and a new, people can have something a bit different. That's really, really important. We've had a question about how does the Recovery College communicate with CPNs about the Recovery College offer? So that's community psychiatric nurses, yes? Just make sure I'm getting the acronyms right. So Tracy, would that be for you?
Yes, so we do send out very regular information to all of our partners, but again, it's another plug here. I've got to say, I'd be really keen to come along to any team meeting where I could give an overview of the work that we're doing, and we could look at how we develop some of those referral processes. We know we've got fantastic partners in the community. We're just really keen to extend the reach out. So please, again, do get in touch. We'd be keen to strengthen those relationships, and we'll just keep building that as we go along.
Okay, that's fine. Just the last final question for both of you then. Kate, you're the commissioner. How long is this here for? How long is it going to last?
So the service is funded recurrently, Derry. So we've made that commitment as a clinical commissioning group. And as we, the commission and landscape changes and we go into the ICS, we're working in close partnership with CAW, our Mental Health and Disabilities Trust, who will be there throughout this change. And they're also committed to having a recovery college. So the money is there and it's being committed for the long-term future.
And I think that's probably one of the biggest and most positive messages from today. So that's really good to hear. Tracy, then a final question for you. Before we all go off and try out what you're actually doing, what's the thing that you're most proud of that you've achieved so far?
Oh, I think this is just a really clear one for me. It's the engagement we've done with communities. I really feel like we've invested in that time, and I'm just so proud and humbled that the communities are giving us the opportunity to come along and find out what's important to them. So that's the thing I'm most proud of, the time that we've spent with those communities. I also have a better understanding of how to play bingo now and drink lots of cups of coffee from some of those chats. That would definitely strengthen. And I guess, and in addition to that, the other thing that I'm most proud of is the team. We have so many really committed, passionate people in our team, and really privileged that we also have peer supporters through the work through CNTW that support that. You need lived experience at the heart of what we're trying to create here. So very, very important. And if I could just mention as well, Derry, a huge thank you to everyone who's given such positive feedback in the chat and offered great supportive venues. I know there's a huge amount of information there, so I definitely will be picking up on that and linking in with people. There's lots of comments about the Wellbeing Festival, the walk and football. So thank you so much. I will definitely be in touch.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you both. That's been really enlightening, and I hope people have got some of the answers. If there are more questions about the Recovery College, pop them in the chat. We'll get answers to you. But thank you both, Tracy and Kate, for that really, really helpful talk about the Recovery College. I'll pass you back to David now. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That was fascinating. And again, thanks to Tracy and Kate for answering those questions. So you now know what the Recovery College is all about, what it can offer, what it's planning to do. So it's appropriate to move on to the two breakout sessions. One is on resilience and the other one on guided imagery. And they'll be led by Eddie Martin and Connie Davis. So thanks to them for their contributions. So there should be, as if by magic, it's got nothing to do with me, but by magic, the information is on the screen, which explains what each session will be about. So you can choose which one you would like to join. If you're not sure how to join, and I'll put myself in that category, unfortunately, just wait in the camera room, and someone from Healthwatch will help you gain admission. And just a little sort of warning, in a sense, that there'll be a 2-minute bell or warning or whatever form it will take to let everyone know that the session is about to conclude and everyone will be brought back together. So now, with the wizardry of the technology, if you can select which one you wanted to listen into, then please do so. Seek help if you need it, and then we will welcome Eddie and Connie to lead their breakout sessions on resilience and guided imagery. Well, thanks to Eddie and Connie. Certainly from Connie's a lot of food for thought. Most enjoyable and informative. So thanks for leading those sessions, and I think it provides further proof, if proof were needed actually, of the invaluable work you're all doing at the Recovery College. So we wish you well on your journey, and long may it continue, because you clearly all do make a difference. Anyway, before we close, a few final words from myself, and thanks to everyone for having been with us, and I trust you have found it enjoyable, informative, worthwhile. And if you still have any questions or queries, as Derry has mentioned, about Healthwatch or the Recovery College, then get in touch with us and we will respond to your queries. And of course, the minutes will go on the web. And thanks again to the presenters for their sessions. They obviously worked very hard with them and are doing fantastic work out there in the community. And also thanks to the staff of Healthwatch for working very hard behind the scenes to organise this morning's session, and for the technology, whose magic is completely beyond me, but they've done a wonderful job in holding it all together. But perhaps at this time, above all, it's an opportune time to say thanks to those people who provide the services. You know, in the hospitals, the dentists, the pharmacies, ambulances, care homes, domiciliary care, or wherever. And not forgetting the commissioners and the politicians who do so much work behind the scenes. As was mentioned before, we do live in challenging times, but I think we can remain confident that those working in health and care, whatever they might be doing or fulfilling, they continue to do their utmost to provide the best care and treatment. And I think we've heard that to the nth degree this morning from the Recovery College. Yet within all of this, there are occasions when, as a community, perhaps, we do feel a bit frustrated, maybe even concerned about treatment taking a little bit longer than we'd anticipated or hoped. And I'm sure the health and care workers feel the same frustrations as they take their responsibilities very, very seriously and work very, very hard. But it's a sign of the times in society at the moment that more and more seems to be expected of our services, of our providers, not least with the increasing numbers of people seeking and needing treatment for their various ailments and illnesses. And whether that's with the delays because of the pandemic, the aging population, or whatever, there are frustrations, and there are undeniably significant pressures of capacity on those who provide those services which we hold so dear. So I think we should bear this in mind when we wait for the appointment letter, when we speak to staff, when we're in a waiting room or whatever. And using Connie's words about mindfulness and equanimity, we need to bear this in mind. And when we think of the weather on Connie's mountain, which is not always as we would like, the staff in the care services, in the health services, they are responsible for our well-being and our treatment. But I think we also have to share in the responsibility when we are in contact with them, to show similar responsibility to them as they exercise their responsibility to us. And for its part, Healthwatch will continue to communicate, to engage, and to listen to the voice of the wider people, wider community, and to report, and if need be, to challenge in an independent but fair and responsible manner. That's what we do, and that's what we shall continue to do. So finally, what we've heard and seen today about the Recovery College, about the work of Healthwatch, I think we can indeed look forward to healthier and happier times, and with Tracy's laughter. And maybe all of us, it's incumbent upon us now, when we are dealing with everything, but particularly the health and care services, to try to smile at one another a little bit more often. It does everybody good. Thank you, take care, and have a good day.